Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to continue on into Chapter 6, which is differential association and social learning theories. Chapter 6 is uh, dealing with one of my favorite social theorists, a guy named Edwin Sutherland, who came up with the idea of differential association. And at least in my mind, differential association is one of the most salient social theories at explaining deviance and other learned behaviors that we have in the discipline. So when we're thinking about differential association and social learning theories, um, what we're really looking at is how deviance and conformity are both learned through various socialization agents. Um, the book talks about how you can learn deviant behavior. And historically, we learned deviant behavior from people, at least in accordance to these theorists, we learned deviant behavior from people that we looked up to, parts of our social networks, and that's ultimately how we learn that deviant behavior. Now, today we're seeing some different ways to learn these deviant behaviors. The internet, of course, is very influential in teaching us about deviant behavior. Many people live in places where marijuana is not legal, but you can go to the internet and find out exactly how to grow it, where to get the products to grow, the types of nutrients that you need, and all those types of things. So you don't really need to know people that are engaging in deviant behavior anymore. You can just go to your internet portal and find out all kinds of things about bulimia or drug manufacturing or um, bomb making, all kinds of things. One of the things that we know is deviance can be learned, and in order to engage in deviant behavior, instruction is required. Edwin Sutherland, of course, is a pioneer in sociology, um, especially criminology. And he became a pioneer because he challenged mainstream criminology during his time. He focused on crime, but provided serious implications for non-criminal deviant behavior as well. So he was very critical of the fact that most criminologists looked at common and petty street crime, and Edwin Sutherland was just as interested in white-collar crime. He set the stage for his classical work, White Collar Crime, at the American Sociological Association meeting, where he was the president, and he ultimately challenges the others who focused on this street crime. He said conventional generalizations about crime and criminality are invalid because they explain only the crime of the lower class, and they leave the upper class alone, upper and middle classes alone. He viewed crime as universal, and he thought that it occurred across all dimensions, including class, race, gender, and social conditions, which was not the common perception of the time. Sutherland laid out 9 propositions, 7 of which we still consider today. The first is criminal behavior is learned, of course. Not only is it learned, it's learned in interaction and communication with others. In many cases, it's intimate personal groups that are the principal part, that play the principal part in learning criminal behavior. Learning criminal behavior includes learning the techniques, specific directions of motives, drives, rationalizations, and attitudes. Found that the specific direction of motives and drives is learned from definitions of the legal code as favorable or unfavorable. Ultimately, we see this combined with operant conditioning under the direction of Akers, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. An excess of definitions favorable to violations of the laws equals delinquent behavior. So if you have more favorable favorable definitions, you're more likely to be delinquent. Differential associations may vary in frequency, duration, priority, and intensity. So the idea that once you're a criminal, you will always be a criminal is certainly questionable under Sutherland, and he believed that if you started associating with different people and you began to get favorable reactions in reference to not being deviant, you could learn to be not deviant as well. He also said the same mechanisms are involved in learning crime as involved in any other type of learning. And criminal behavior is not explained by general needs and values because non-criminal behavior is an expression of the same needs and values. So just because you're poor or not poor doesn't mean you're going to be criminal or not criminal. Another type of another type of theory that uses the same tenets that differential association use is social learning theory. Robert Burgess and Ronald Akers add on to differential association with the idea of differential association reinforcement theory. This, of course, is where they add operant conditioning. The psychology of operant conditioning is an important omission, if you will, in Sutherland's work. He didn't talk a whole lot about this, and so Akers and Burgess are adding something to the theoretical debate. According to this particular social learning theory, operant conditioning creates social and asocial reinforcements of learning. This was originally written as criminal, but changed to deviant after realizing the generality of the theory. So when they first started doing this, they were looking at criminal behavior, but then figured out that this theory can be used to explain all sorts of deviant behavior. Where Akers' differential association and operant conditioning marry up to Sutherland's theories are in 3 of the 7 areas listed below. So deviant behavior is learned according to the principles of operant conditioning. Deviant behavior is learned both in asocial and social situations through reinforcement. In learning, deviant behavior occurs with primary groups of reinforcement over the individual. This is where Akers is adding to or unpacking, if you will, Sutherland's ideas on differential association. Later on in Akers' career as a sociologist, he refines his theory and boils it down into 4 important concepts. And these concepts, of course, as all of Akers' theoretical perspectives, are influenced by Sutherland. First is definitions are attitudes, beliefs, rationalizations of good and bad and right and wrong. These definitions can be general, they can be specific, they can be favorable, neutralizing, or reproachful of behavior, and they can either encourage deviance or they can encourage conformity. Of course, differential association is another important aspect of Akers' theory. For him, definitions are learned through contact with others. This leads into differential reinforcement, where balances of anticipated and actual rewards and punishments take shape. We see likelihoods of rewards and punishment, or rewards and punishment will reinforce or diminish types of behaviors. It predicts that the continuation or escalation of behavior will follow suit to what is reinforced by those people that are important to you. And then, of course, imitation or observing model behavior and repeating it. This is known as, these four tenets are the basis for Aker's social structure and social learning theory. Gives insight into how structural variables may impact social learning by combining micro and macro levels. This is one of the places where you see a theorist trying to say, yes, it is structure, but it's also agency. And for Akers, there were four characteristics of social structure that ultimately affect social learning. Differential social organization, where structural correlates with crime. We have differential location in the social structure. So social and demographic characteristics of individuals defining their roles in larger social structures are important. We have theoretically defined structural variables like anomie, class oppression, social disorganization, and group conflict and patriarchy. Lay that theoretical set of constraints, social structural constraints that lead to deviant behavior. And then, of course, differential social location in groups, where we have membership in various groups, and the memberships in these various groups can lead or not lead to deviant behavior. One of the key studies, for Akers at least, was studying on smoking as deviance. He was trying to understand why it was that young people, people under the age of 18, continued to smoke, even though there were all kinds of social cues that discouraged them from doing so. So for Akers, there's a social health harm that is related to other forms of substance abuse as well as smoking cigarettes. And if we understand why individuals smoke cigarettes, well, we can also understand why they engage in other types of behaviors. Even though there's all kinds of social cues to not engage in these types of deviant behavior, we fail to react in the appropriate way. We end up doing things that society would frown upon simply because people that we look up to and engage with are engaging in those types of behaviors.